Hey all, Snoo here again. I am back after a bit of a hiatus. Haven't been feeling very good this past week, so I decided not to stream. Had no desire to stream whatsoever for quite a few days there. But we're back in good form. Don't worry, I've been still on that grind. I've been doing a lot of cemetery maps, and I'm coming back to you with the return to form on the cemetery map. I am ready to move on and try a few new things, but before we go, given that I have gotten an enormous amount of practice at this particular farm, I want to do a very important video. I think this may be the most important video I make all season. Not trying to bury the lead, but long story short, I'm still seeing a lot of videos out there across on Reddit, on other content creators, stuff on the forums, talking about, some of what most people are considering, or the prevailing idea of what is the best currency per hour farming strategies out there. And I just keep hearing Expedition over and over and over again. People are still talking. They've been talking it up for like an entire month straight. I'm not trying to dog Expedition. I think it's probably a wonderful farming strategy. But I would challenge the assertion that it is potentially the very best, highest, most lucrative strategy out there. I'm not even going to claim that my own strategy on the cemetery is, but I do think it is pushing numbers that are a bit higher than what some other people are boasting. And that's what this video is here to prove, basically. We want to check it and see if, in fact, all of this cemetery farming has resulted in a superior farming strategy, currency per hour wise. I want to see. I have a pretty good idea, of course, as I have now farmed probably over 1,000 cemetery maps this season, farmed well over 100 brother stashes at this point, and RNG being what it is, I have decided at the end of this video, I think one very important piece of information I'm going to give you is the sort of floor. So when I come to determine the currency per hour of this strategy, we'll have both what kind of currency I made on this strategy, and this is going to be 100 maps again. And then I'm also going to remove every single item that I find that is worth more than one exalt. And we're going to see what that floor is, because that'll give us a really good sense of what the floor is. So most of what will make that up will be, raw exalted orbs, raw currencies, scarabs, things like that are going to be found in there. I am going to include exalted orbs. I don't think there's a huge amount of RNG with exalted orb because of the fact that we're including Beyond, for example, in this farm. We're going to find a lot of exalted orbs and raw currency. So let's get into this video, this particular strategy here on the cemetery. First, I'm going to talk about some of the more conservative aspects of how I'm going to test this currency strategy here at the end. Breach rings, for example, last farm I did, I'm going to be referencing a previous farm I did. And breach rings I sold at 3 chaos apiece before. They're no longer selling at 3 chaos apiece. They're selling for around 2 chaos apiece. And even then, they're not going to necessarily sell instantly, but I am going to count the breach rings that I find at a value of 2 chaos apiece. I will also be leveling gems. And you could level alternate quality gems very, very quickly. You could level an Enlighten, for example. You could level Awaken gems. I'm going to be leveling Awaken gems, and I suspect I'm going to probably, or come very close to leveling Awaken gems all the way from 1 to 5. And I've decided for the sake of this farm, I am not going to include that in the currency per hour. I think it's perfectly reasonable to include it, since this is a very, hot, putting tons of monsters on the map, running 100 maps. You're going to get a lot of extra experience. And it is reasonable to include the value of the leveling gem, but for the sake of this test, I'm not going to count that. That's just going to be extra. Also, as far as extra, will be heist material. So I don't even check contracts anymore. I could check contracts and pick up deception contracts, but I do have a check on the higher value blueprints that are worth upwards of around 50, 60 chaos apiece. I am including, or I am picking those up, but they will not be counted towards excellence. It cannot detect the value of that. Another big change from the last time I did this farm, 8 mod corrupted sextants is something I am going to be running. Now, last time I did this run, I did not do that. I just had all of my maps already there, and you know, they counted as part of the investment cost. Now, I have a few maps here as a sort of startup point, but the point is that I'm going to run, I believe it's a total of 8 sextants worth of the maps found in areas are corrupted with 8 modifiers, and then hunted traders will be covering it on the back end. So I'm going to be making less currency per hour on account of that, but it does offer a much more realistic outlook of a self-sustaining this strategy as much as you can, because that's how I run this strategy. When I do like a 40... If I do like a 50 map session, you know, 10 of my maps I'm going to run with that sextant to accumulate a large portion of those maps. Now I do have Cemetery favorited all the way down, and when I switch over, I will go with Promenade, because Promenade seems to be selling better than anything else. And then we're also... I guess I'll go ahead and talk about the sextants here. I'm running the Gloom Shrine, elevated. And the currency the currency up here represents the cost of these sextants in total, looking around over 11x worth of sextants. Gloom Shrine clocks in the price of around 40 chaos per. I'm able to buy them in bulk at that price. The strong boxes, elevated, clocked in around 60 to 70 chaos per. At this very current time of me making this video, you can't get them for any less than 90 chaos per. I've seen the price fluctuate constantly this season from like 50 to 100, back down to 50, back up to 100. Just gotta pick the right time to buy this sextant. I bought like 30 of this sextant when they were 50 chaos apiece, for the record. But I am counting them at around, I think, 65 chaos per thrown in here. And we also have the Strongbox Enraged Sextant, of course. We're doing that because we're going to be forcing out some brother stashes in this way, and a lot of just extra currency as well as exalted orbs. A lot of extra quantity from the monsters. And then we're also going to be running, again, with the 8 corrupted modifiers to accumulate some cemetery maps with high quantity and pack size, and then we'll be switching over to hunted traders once I have enough. Now, I may have to substitute. I have some backup hunted traders and backup sextants of each type here. They're worth about the same amount. Oh yeah, the 500% item quantity sextant's worth about 18 chaos apiece, and the corrupted 8 modifier one or hunted traders worth around 12 to 15 chaos apiece. All of this expenses here because, again, Excellence cannot detect the value of these compasses, so we have to insert manually an exalt or currency value that makes up for the cost of currency. So that gives us a really good point to say here's what the investment costs are. Oh yeah, also inside this amount here is the inclusion of Beyond, running Beyond on every single map. So it's 100 maps worth of Beyond, that's 5 chaos apiece. So absolutely that is going to count. We can see here that the startup cost for this investment is 27 exalts, roughly. Exalted orbs are worth a lot more than they used to be. They're worth almost 170 chaos at this point, so the power of exalted orbs is very high. And this farming strategy, this particular strategy, is really good because Brother Stash is pure exalt. That's a pure exalt divination card, running Beyond, and just tons of quantity from stuff. Get a lot of raw exalted orbs. We also get like double exalted orbs from Strongbox. We get exalted orbs sometimes from Harbingers. We get a lot of exalted shards from Harbingers. So this particular strategy is very favorable on as far as like the liquidability of the kind of stuff you find. A great deal of what you find is just raw currency, high value currency, ancient orbs, exalted orbs, you know, you name it. Now, when I did this strategy last time, in the last mega juicing video that I did on Cemetery, it was a 40 exalt startup cost, and those were with different scarabs. So we saved a lot of currency by swapping 3 of those gilded scarabs back down to polished, and the gilded scarabs have only gone up in value. Divination scarab, most notably, went from something like 12 chaos apiece to over 20 chaos apiece now. It's pretty wild. And the polished scarabs have, for the most part, stayed the same. The gilded ambush scarabs actually stayed the same, so I went ahead and I'm still continuing to run this one. I was on the cusp of switching to polished ambush scarab, but now, you know, I don't really know why, but the price of gilded ambush scarabs has not been running away like the other 3 half for the most part. So we are going to go ahead and run Gilded Ambush Scarab. And in my opinion, it is one of the more important scarabs that I'm running. I don't even really want to run Gilded Breach Scarab because... Anyway, well, I'll get into that in a little while later, but 2 breaches on a map is enough for what we're doing here. And yeah, Gilded Harbinger, way too expensive unless you're actually going Harbinger Sexton and killing multiple bosses and stuff. It does suck to drop down to Polished Divination Scarab, but I feel like I just absolutely have to because the cost is just too high. The cost is just too high there. So that is kind of what we're starting with here on the more conservative side of things. Let's talk about improvements to the strategy that I've been doing. So I ran this strategy a lot. I kind of figured out what kind of build I wanted to run, what kind of Atlas passives, and I've tweaked it a little bit and made it a little bit better over time. So major changes from the last video I made. Loot filter has gotten even more tight. I'm no longer picking up like Chayula splinters. I have adjusted my Atlas tree to kind of remove a lot of the breach nodes in here. We'll see. Here's a look at the passives on the Atlas tree. This will be linked in the description below. I did have a lot of these breach nodes picked up here. They're not worth a whole lot. A lot of people will go ahead and say that. But I even did drop like the boss breach nodes over here. And drop the breach nodes here that promote Chayula breaches from spawning. Saved a lot of extra points. We've thrown all those extra points while still keeping Flash Breach, because actually Flash Breach is really the only important node that I need for Breach. We've taken all those points and thrown them over to Beyond. So extended the tree down here and picked up all these nodes for Beyond, and we even were able to squeeze in a few extra Delirium nodes because Delirium is great. It adds a lot of free juice that does not really take up extra time, not hardly anyway, and it doesn't really make a map like Cemetery any harder. But you'll see that all of the Strongbox nodes, the Shrines, the Harbinger, got all of them except for this Tamper-Proof, which I don't need because I'm running the Sexton. We still got all the Quantity Wheel, Rarity Wheel, the Effective Modifiers Wheel. We still got all that the same. We're still running Shadow of Hunger over here. Still getting all the pack size on the Influence modifier monsters that we can. So, last video I said, you know, don't worry, this is not my final form. I'm going to continue tweaking it and everything. Well, I've ran this tree for quite some time. I've done probably about 300 cemetery maps with this tree. And I honestly gotta say, guys, I think this is basically it. This is probably the best tree that I can possibly think of for this particular strategy, especially on a map like Cemetery. One other thing we're improving beyond this: Arch Nemesis. So I'm making a wild U-turn in one of my previous videos talking about Arch Nemesis, how I, abandoned it, basically, just not doing it anymore. Well, I started doing it again. I cleaned up my tab. I actually have a lot of extra space here. I put all these things in here nice. This is the particular recipe I'm running now: Temporal Bubble, Treant Horde, Mirror Image, and Rejuvenation. It's really great. It yields approximately an exalt worth of materials, almost like far more deterministically than trying to just get an exalted orb to drop. It's really, really good. Actually, don't need that. And then everything else I'm reserving here for parts that will result in this. Now, I do have some of these mega recipes I still haven't ran. I'll save that for a different video. I'm not going to be running these in this one, but I am going to be running and replacing these Temporal Bubble ones. It occurred to me shortly after making the video about abandoning Arch Nemesis that you can actually run Arch Nemesis extremely efficiently if you're smart about it. Like, there is a way to do it. And the biggest secret to that is adjusting your loot filter so you only see the right recipes. That's a huge part of it. Actually having memorized exactly, you know, the recipes and keeping in the back of your mind how many you need, how many you have, without really having to keep referencing this, which is a lot easier to do when you're only concerned about one major recipe, which is these 4 right here. And then, you know, just memorizing all the parts that you need for it. And just generally speaking, it's so much easier. Like, I've gotten to a point where I can just open the tab. I don't even need to type anything in or highlight it probably to run exactly what I want to run. Like, I know what a soul conduit looks like. Even if everything is cluster effed in here and I can't find, I know what it looks like. I know what an echoist looks like. I know if I need to make a hexer, I need that chaos weaver and that echoist. You know, I know exactly, like, I just have it memorized at this point. So, you know, if you put in the legwork to memorize things up that well, and you put in the legwork to get your loot filter set up that way, and you put in the legwork to clean it up so you can run these really quickly and easy and keep it nice and tidy, at least part of the inventory, I do think it's actually worth doing, because it is a lot of currency you're kind of leaving behind if you don't ever do it. Also, not 100% sure, but the altar that increases the chance for currency drops from monster to be duplicated, I think it actually works with reroll currencies from Temporal Bubble, and the primary source of currency from this will be burial medallions that drop. That will be the that's the real chase there. So that basically concludes everything as far as exchanges from the last video. So again, we're gonna find out if this strategy really is everything I say it is. Now, last time I did a video, I made 14x an hour. A lot of that was luck, okay? It wasn't really authentically 14x an hour. I said in the video I made like 11, 13 to x. Probably more realistic. I said I'd probably find about 8 brother stashes. I went ahead and calculated the currency per hour for 8 brother stashes in that 100 map session. I feel good about how I did that, how I handled that video and everything. But for the sake of this video, I think I'll probably find about 6 brother stashes in 100 maps. Maybe only 4, probably like 4 to 8. Should hopefully be in that range. And again, we are going to check the price of the floor. We're going to see how much currency per hour I make on the absolute floor, as well as what it actually turns out to be. So the floor, if the floor is like 10x an hour, then this is clearly like one of the absolute best currency farming strategies there is. If it's more like 6x an hour, well then it's maybe just, pretty good. But we'll see what it turns out to be. And I look forward to seeing the results. I kind of already know what they're going to be, at least as far as the floor is concerned. So let's talk about another thing. I am going to go into a little bit more detail about how I run these maps. Now, I am going to include the first couple maps I run so you can kind of see how I run them. The highlights portion of this video will be a little shorter than usual. The conclusion will probably be a little shorter than usual to make up for it, because I don't want this video to be terribly long. But let me have a little bit of your attention on how I'm running this map, because it's actually really important to understand. So I am running a Caustic Arrow, Toxic Rain, Ballista setup on a raider that has 151% movement speed in town. Important to understand how impactful this is. This kind of movement speed is going to mean when I get my Shrine Acceleration action speed buff, when I get my Headhunter action speed buffs, they're pulling extra weight because my default movement speed is really, really high. It means I'm just going to be flying through the map. In fact, it's almost counterproductive, because in certain points my character will be practically uncontrollable, especially if I get the teleport debuff. A big part of my success in this strategy has come from just sheer efficiency. And for those of you who would like to, do a strategy like this, have a super fast mapping character, and want to kind of go for some more high skill cap play, this is going to be for you. There's nothing really special about my build, my gear. I just looked it up. There's only 10 raiders on the ladder right now. There's only 10 raiders that even use Caustic Arrow. It's not a popular skill. It's not particularly meta, not with Raider anyway. It's fine, it's decent skill. But there's something very special about this this build and this skill that makes it work really well. So Caustic Arrow, the way it works is it covers most of my area on my screen, and everything's in there is gonna die before this point, except for like unique bosses and whatnot. And even like after they die, they spawn beyond. Even the beyond monsters will die in one cast. So I'm just running by, one cast, boom, it's all dead. Everything back there is dead. Everything forward's dead twice over. Like the beyond monsters and everything die too, for the most part. Now, this build has a weakness in that its single target is not very strong. The Headhunter can kind of make up for that a little bit when I go to kill the map boss. It still dies pretty quickly, but things like beyond bosses, after I've cleared the map and gone through and tried to loot everything again, it's not that great. So that is one weakness. But again, we're focused on clear and raw speed. And to help me with that, I am running that Gloom Shrine as one of my compasses here. And in my opinion, the pairing of the Gloom Shrine with Caustic Arrow is an unspeakably strong synergy, which you'll see how it is. Like, I personally think it's way better than, for example, Lightning Arrow. Whereas, you know, if you're just firing something and, you know, if it misses, it just doesn't do any damage, or if it just doesn't pierce, or if it doesn't, you know, chain or whatever for whatever reason, if it's something directional, you're not going to hit everything on your screen at all times. And even if you do press a button one time and it kills literally everything on your screen, beyond monsters spawn, then you have to press a button again to kill everything again. Not something you have to do with Caustic Arrow, especially with this this Sexton on here. Again, I just run through one screen, I press one button, attacking very fast. One time, everything is dead, basically forever. Like it's dead long term on the screen. So that is really helping me on my clear efficiency. And it's going to mean a lot on things, especially something like Breach. You know, when people do Breach, for example, they leave a lot to be desired. Most people in the back of their mind, they think of a Breach, they think, you know, what does full clearing a Breach really mean on an open map? For most people, I suspect it means leaving somewhere around 100 monsters still up. But for me in this build, no, it's more like leaving maybe a dozen monsters up. And, you know, knowing that there's basically no way you can clear every single Breach monster in a Breach, because that's not really possible by the nature of how they spawn. But you're going to see how I do that. And the important thing is, like on a Breach, for example, I open a Breach, I don't just stay there and kill everything. I open a Breach, I run away, I do some more progress on the other parts of the map, and then I come back right before that Breach closes and clear everything, essentially. Obviously, I'll mess that up occasionally, but I've gotten to a point after doing 1,000 maps, I don't mess it up very often. And because I'm doing the maps in 2 or 3 minutes flat, usually I have a Gloom Shrine on. And so a lot of these pieces come together in a particular way that it's really, you know, I'm quite proud of this strategy. I've gotten everything ironed out really nicely, the way the Gloom Shrine works, the timing of it, setting up and doing maps in a specific window of time so that I'm basically using all of the time that I have on a Gloom Shrine, but not leaving a whole bunch of extra time remaining. The way I'm able to do, like, you know, choosing the strategies of doing Strongbox, which is basically instantaneous, Shrines, instantaneous, Beyond, instantaneous, Delirium, instantaneous, Harbinger, practically instantaneous, and then Breach is basically the only mechanic that you're going to see me do that is not instantaneous. But you can effectively make it instantaneous by, you know, by running a map like Cemetery. It's wide open, having a character that moves at like 1,000% increased movement speed with all the buffs up. Full clearing a map while it's going on, coming back and clearing it all, and just being extraordinarily efficient in that way. So again, this part of the video is really for, you know, those kind of elite players who want to really push themselves to max. This is not an entertainment run. This is a serious run. Like, we're really trying to see just what kind of efficiency I can pull from the strategy. So that's about all I want to say on the opening strategy. Let's get into it. We're going to have this map set up here. Again, startup cost 27.18x. We need to remember that number. And I'm going to flip this back over. Now I'm going to clock these runs, and I know that I can do about 50 maps in 3 hours. I am not going to run this all the way through. I was thinking about running it all the way through. It's just too exhausting to do all the way through, so I'm going to split this into 2 videos. We're going to run 15 maps at once. My mana is gone. I mean 50 maps in one run. And then we'll run the other 50 maps the next day. I'm not up. Whoop. As far as currency per hour, I'm not including the time it takes to gather all the materials, but hey, you know, it doesn't take actually a whole lot of time to gather polished scarabs. You know, gilded scarabs a little bit more annoying to do, I do admit. We have that set up. The Sexton's already in for that. We're going to run Beyond. I'm going to click Go. I'm going to reset this one more time. Okay. And you can see it's 1948, so remember that. Hopefully so that's 7:48 p.m. local time. Hopefully about 10:48 local time, we'll finish this run. And this particular session will be viewable on Twitch. I'll have the link down below. Okay, 7:49. So if you do want to double check, you can check that link to verify that it took me as long as it did. So here we go. Basically, my goal is this. I want to find the map boss and I want to find all the shrines. I'm going to go ahead and click every strong box I see along the way. The reason I'm doing that is because I may miss them otherwise. I'm going to click every single altar I see on the way. Try to be intelligent. I will click most things I see. I might miss a few things here and there. I still haven't found the map boss, so that's unfortunate. I know that there is a boss nearby, so I'm gonna go ahead and open that breach. Oh, I got stuck on the terrain. Now this is surprising. I thought I would actually be able to go in and clear that breach before this is done, but I did get the Gloom Shrine finally. That is important. So this breach is nearing completion. You can still see I'm clearing a few things outside. You know, I got virtually all of that breach. The Harbinger's still there. I'll come back to clear him. Most of the map is cleared. I open another breach. Now I'm going to get that map boss. I know for a fact that map boss room is very close. Okay. And I do have time to go in here and clear this and still get back to the breach. You will see. The breach is still up. It's there. We'll see. Even with grasping binds, it doesn't really matter when I'm moving this insanely fast. And you can basically see that, you know, virtually 100% of that breach was done. Not exactly 100%, but virtually. And basically the map is now done. I've essentially cleared the map. And again, the loot filter is so tight that it makes things really nice.
I'm not up to that just yet.
I don't even have a speed shrine on me anymore. In fact, I don't think I actually got a speed shrine at all. I do not want to spend much more time in this map. This map obviously did not turn out to be that great as far as the drops. That's okay. That's part of it. We're running these maps very quickly. I'm not making any kind of crazy investment per map. It's going to be something like 45 chaos per map, somewhere around there. So that map's done, and we want to get in and out quickly.
Hello.
If I am to run 50 maps in 3 hours, then, oh yeah, I'm not going to include double corrupted maps that are not for cemetery, by the way. Probably the craziest thing about that run is that I didn't get any cemetery maps. That's actually really crazy, because I'm specifically trying to find a lot of cemetery double corrupt cemetery maps right now, and that's really weird. So I'm gonna run Delirium on this one. I'm also going to do. I will go ahead and do one of these recipes here so you can see how incredibly fast this is. But again, we're still going to run this kind of the same as before. Maybe that's a cemetery map. Yeah, there we go. Finally got a cemetery map. This map will be a little bit longer because Delirium is here. Mainly because I'm just picking up more stuff, not because I kill more stuff. Because Delirium is essentially instantaneous. Very lucky that the map boss is so close. Killing the map boss early is really important because I'm going to improve the quality of the altars there. Getting all the shrines is very important early on because one of the shrines might be a covetous shrine, or there's also the fact I need to find my Gloom Shrine as well. So I definitely want to be getting the shrines. Okay, we had a Legion that was basically on top of a breach, which was pretty cool. And then kind of, you know, really work that Legion. Legion is a mechanic I will actually do because I don't really lose any time by doing it. Okay, we're gonna start doing these. See, I can be really liberal about how I do them, how I clear them, how I spawn them. Not really wasting any time. Don't even necessarily have to kill what I spawn immediately. I can kind of come back and do it in a little bit. You can see there's a lot of reroll currencies there. That's good. That's kind of what I'm going for. We have a breach that is beginning to close here. Grasping Vines gets a little bit of the better of me there, but I think it's fine. I basically got it all cleared. And we got a Raw Exalted Orb. Looks like from the actual recipe there. And a Dragon's Heart. So no Brother Stash there, but we did get a nice Divination card, and we got a Raw Exalted Orb, so that's good. The map is basically done now, and we are in loot mode. I might have missed like one strong box or something might be still around, but oh, that was a nice pickup. Oh my god. From the last set of Eldritch Monsters. Practically. From scarabs, you can never discount the value of those scarabs. I did have a Covetous Shrine, and it's almost expired now, so see, I got a great amount of value out of that shrine. A whole bunch of extra rarity as well as quantity. Now, Mariketh Splinters are basically the only splinter I pick up. Alright, this is really awkward. I can't believe this. I haven't even seen this in like 300 maps. What I ran into apparently was a map that is no regeneration combined with burning ground, which means some freak accident. I have to actually change my this thing here. Pantheon. So stupid. That does hurt me. Like that is a real cost to my currency per hour there. It's not something I want to see. And again, I haven't ran into something like that in at least 300 maps. So that's gonna be super, super rare. Again, that is the modifier cannot regenerate on top of burning ground. Okay, nothing really from the Delirium rewards. No big surprise there. Not many Burial Medallions. I actually got pretty unlucky with those, it looks like. Usually I see somewhere around 10 in a map when I do a map like this, but unfortunately not the case here. I've already spent way more time in this map than I want to, so we're about to get on up out of here. That's about it right there. And there you go. Put that Pantheon back. Let that loot. Now, obviously, that was a really good map. You know, I got an Exalted Orb. I got a good Divination card. That Divination card does drop. There will always be a few of those in every map that I run. Every session that I run, rather. And it does seem to be about as common as the Brother Stash, so it feels kind of bad when I see it, actually, because what it kind of means is that, oh, you didn't get a Brother Stash. It's the same concept as like the Divine Orb. Anytime you see a raw Divine Orb, you think to yourself, oh, I unfortunately didn't get an Exalted Orb. There, so that's sad. Here we go. This is a great start. Wow, raw Exalted Orb dropped right outside the door there. Got straight to the Gloom Shrine and the map boss, exactly what I want to see. Now I still need to go hit the other shrines. I'm going to also hit breaches that I see along the way. Really important, because, you know, if this is a Covetous Shrine, I don't want to be full clearing the map and then grabbing a Covetous Shrine at the very end of the map. That's not what I want to have happen. I want to also trigger the breaches, because I don't want to be spending extra time doing those. Blight is a little tricky. I kind of don't really mess with it. I try to conveniently deal with Blight the best I can. Kind of try and stick around and clear it, which I should have actually done that right there. Go back here, finish that breach. Almost lost a little bit of the breach there, but nope, saved it, so that's good. So the Blight is now active, and you see I have a Blight that's active on the opposite of the map where I've cleared. So I'm just kind of gonna forget about it. I don't really care about it. I might come back and deal with it. So I could, like right here, for example, I'll just go C. Now, this is the beauty of having a character that moves insanely fast, because I can go in, I can handle a breach that's taking place on the left, I can continue clearing the map up the top, I can keep hitting those, I can come back down here. I have now just kind of full cleared the map. I already saved this. The Gloom Shrine is making that easy peasy. This breach is still open, and so I did mess that up a hair. The very left side did not get fully cleared, so I probably missed a little bit of stuff, but I still managed to save this Blight. Not that it really matters, because most of the value of the Blight is the Beyond monsters spawning from the monsters that are just lined up that way. But at any rate, you know, that's pretty good. So I like that. I'm definitely going to conclude that as part of the video. You kind of see here on map number 3 what I mean when I talk about like going, you know, really pushing your efficiency to the max. I would still give up on this Blight if I wasn't looting stuff right here in front of it. Just to give you an idea. So I'm not going to be hanging around any mechanics, just doing them for the sake of doing them. You know, either the mechanic is instantaneous or it's not, and I'm full clearing other parts of the map, and if I happen to run into it, great. If not, whatever. Blight rewards are typically nothing, actually, so it almost doesn't even feel worth opening those chests. Like, even a blighted map is only worth like 10 chaos. I still have Chayula splinters on my my filter. I kind of out of laziness I didn't take it off there. The Beyond bosses do tend to drop maps, so it is kind of good for me to go ahead and kill those when I'm running the 8 modded Sextant.
My mana is gone.
But anyway, there you go. You can basically see the map is done. I'm not going to mess with the Beyond boss. It's still at full health. 100% spell suppression. He can't kill me. Even Hask can't really kill me. As well, not to mention the fact that I probably have 90 max all-res thanks to shrine effects and everything. So, you know, one nice hidden bonus of having the shrines is that Beyond boss is a total joke to my character. What? Oh.
I'm not up to that just yet.
Cortex. Jesus. So Cortex is an item I'm going to have to remove from the floor, looking at the floor, because it's just not something you're going to find every time you do even 100 maps. You can virtually guarantee you're going to find at least one synth map, but not necessarily Cortex. So that will, of course, count towards the overall total findings for this 100 map session, but it will be removed for the sake of the estimation of the floor. The floor being, you know, the sort of bottom tier amount of currency you could expect to find before you count really high drops. Just saw a red star drop there. Check it in a moment. It is a brother stash. There it is. Okay, this is map number 7 or 8, maybe. I got one pretty early there. Actually, a really nice start. Already gotten like 2 or 3 exalted orbs. Just got a Cortex from this map on the map boss, and then got a brother stash after that. It's pretty nuts. Star there, I think. Came out of the strong box. That's good news, because that probably means it's a double exalted orb drop. Or it could mean double brother stash drop. I'll find out. I don't know if it's Arcanist or Diviner Strongbox. Probably double exalt. Orb survey says double brother stash. Oh. Oh, it's so good. Oh. Count him. Oh, what am I saying? No, Brother Stash. It wouldn't be from a Diviner Strongbox. Almost certainly not. It came from a regular Strongbox. Or a random Strongbox. Yeah, I'll have to check the replay. See. That could have came from any Strongbox. Because Brother Stashes, or map-specific divination cards, can and do drop from any Strongbox. You know, it just happens to drop from like randomly. It came out of a regular Strongbox because a ton of stuff comes out of regular
My
Strongbox.
mana is gone.
Each Strongbox is assigned specific things, and then on top of the specific things it drops, quite often just drop additional random loot. Session I had with the Mage Blood, then that would have been like what you have there would be the best. A better farming session than any I have ever had. So yeah, big grats on that. I got a Headhunter last season. Oh wow, another Brother Stash is number 4 right there. That's let's see. Again, it's hard for me to keep track of these maps. I'm just flying through them, which number it is, but we're on somewhere around map number 35. Say, or map? No, not even that far. Maybe map number 30. Like 30.
I'm not up to that just yet.
So we're already ahead of our estimated number of brother stashes in the first 50 maps. I was only expected to get maybe 3. Of course, I've only actually had 3 drop, but one of them was a double, so that's like a bonus. Yeah, nice.
I'm not up to that just yet.
It's a red star, and I saw it out of the corner of my eye. The Big Brother Stash. Woo! Hello. Like that. Number 5. And I actually know which map this is, because we're getting near the end of the first half of our session. This is map number 48. Okay, and I gotta put something in here. I forgot. Oh yeah. Get that little Treant horde set up. Not too long. Oh, I still don't even have a Gloom Shrine yet. What am I doing? I still don't have it? Oh my god. Yeah, my character cannot be controlled. But hey, I got Gloom Shrine. Red Star, Brother Stash. Just like that. Alright, so we are now in the second half of the session. This is day 2. Just started about 10 maps ago, so I did have a little bit of a dry streak. But now, definitely getting the ball rolling. Not really sure why I'm chasing this abyss so vivaciously, but it's really really not that important. There you go, that's how you do it though. That's a little more like it. Get my rear in gear here. Ha! Bridge is still open. Come on, might as well take you all the way here. Let's go. What is this doing? Jesus, this is why I don't do this shit right here. The only reason it's worth even messing with is because I have stuff to loot in this area.
I'm not up to that just
But what I'll probably run next is Promenade, because I want to test it for myself. Everybody just swears up and down by Promenade. Nice. So you run a map right here. This is how you run a map. You try to do that on the tower or burial chambers, no way in hell can you do what I just did right there. Almost any map except something like cemetery. And that's just the way it is. I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about when I refer to the efficiency, increasing the efficiency of the clear and sort of improving your currency per hour the hard way by just putting in additional effort and coming up with a specific strategy, a way you clear the map that is superior to what most other people are doing.
I'm not up to that just yet.
Enlightened support. Ha ha ha. I mean, I found, I think, 3 enhanced supports and an empower support on this. I've definitely found more of these gems than usual in a 100 map session, but it did feel kind of bad, you know, to have all those other ones but not have the enlightened support. So there you go. That's fun. Hey, brother stash number 7 on map number 96, which means we just crested over the grand total 6 expected brothers stash. That is number 7, which makes this a decisively good RNG session, I'd say. But not way outside the realm of normality like the previous. Unless I get like a bunch of brother stashes to drop in the last 3 maps. That would be nuts, but I don't expect that's going to happen. Okay, folks, it is time for the results here. This is take 2. Apparently, I had a little bit of a thing that messed up, which I'll mention in a moment. I have all of Dump Tab A and all of Dump Tab B, or half of Dump Tab B, to cover essentially all the loot, and there's the Breach Rings as well. We'll get into all that in a minute. So, you know what? Actually, this is a surprisingly small amount of loot. There's a lot of maps in here. Virtually all of these maps are non-corrupted. If they are corrupted, they're 8-modded, and they are something I'm using personally, so they are of value to me. So, maps do sell. They don't always sell at 100% value, but we have some conservative justifications to count the maps, because we're not counting, for example, any of this heist contracts here or blueprints, and there's a lot of blueprints in here, 40, 50 chaos a piece. Anything that says unusual gems is worth at least 40 chaos a piece. There's quite a few, maybe a dozen or so in here, most of them unusual gems. Let's see, we also have, which I identified a moment ago, Conquer influence maps, which do, depending on the map, depending on the Conquer, they are worth, at least 25 chaos a piece. They also do not show up in Excellence's calculation for some reason. We also have Elder influence maps, which are worth around 10 chaos a piece, and they don't show up. Shaper maps do show up, though, apparently. Not sure why. What I just found out did not show up, that I had to actually redo this video, is that I have an Enlightened support, which is one of the big drops, does not show up in Excellence for some crazy reason. I also have an Empower support, which does show up. Stupid. And I got 3 Enhanced supports, which don't show up. So sometimes, you're not 100% sure what shows up, doesn't show up. Usually it doesn't, make or break what you're trying to do, although a 4.2x item that should be showing up there that doesn't show up is definitely going to throw my earnings out of whack a little bit. Let me kind of go through here and let you, if you want to, for whatever reason, analyze everything that is showing up in Excellence, so you can see it's all right here. There's something like 6 tabs or so. So that's nice. See quite a few uniques, quite a few divination cards, and a few random things in there. I do have an Inspired Learning. That was a pretty big drop. A lot of Delirium Orbs, a lot of currency, obviously. And yeah, nothing crazy. Nothing looks way out of whack here that shouldn't be there. As far as currency is concerned, specifically, Exalted Orbs. I think I got a bit unlucky with those, to be honest. I was expecting maybe, at least 10 raw X, 10 to 15 raw X. I think I only got 8 or 9 raw X, and then the remaining 2 or 3 were found from Exalted Shards being combined up all the way. Exalted Orbs started off pretty good. Moral of this story, this particular session started off pretty hot, and then kind of cooled down throughout particularly the back end. We got a lot of the expedition currencies here. I got 107 exotic coins. I got 73 burial medallions. This was like 8 or 9 total recipes that were done to make up for that, and that's a lot of extra currency I got from this, no doubt, without a whole lot of extra time, a little bit of extra time invested in that. Ancient Orbs 27, and yeah, I even got a Sacred Orb in here. Go figure. A lot of Divine Orbs from mostly 6 links, a few raw. Then we also have uniques. Uniques are an interesting one, because once I started using Beyond, which is a big part of the success of this strategy, the most recent major tweak to the strategy was inclusion of Beyond. I noticed that I started getting a lot of leather belts and heavy belts unique, and you're basically doing a magic finding strat with or without magic find gear when you start seeing multiple heavy and leather unique belts every map, basically. Almost every single map I see them. And, you know, I didn't get a Headhunter or Mage Blood this round, but I did get a Mage Blood a couple weeks ago. So this sort of thing does happen. But the point is that there are so many uniques dropping, and a lot of it's from the Eldritch Altars, of course. You know, chance to drop unique items. So many unique items dropping that this is really part of the floor. Like, you can depend on quite a few unique dropping. Now, if I got like a Unnatural Instinct or something, I'd have to, you know, adjust what I have here. But the biggest thing I found in here was an Inspired Learning. You know, I got a few decent ones like Maloney's. I got Asena's Gentle Touch to Dust. A Badge of the Brotherhood dropped. And then there's quite a few that are like 5 to 10 Chaos in here. And then there's also a Cortex. Now, the Cortex will remove for the sake of the floor here. But let's find out what the currency per hour was. Here, I have it right here. So day 1 kind of looks like this. I'm going to show you the timestamps here. You can see I started with investment-wise. We had around, you know, 3,450... or sorry, this is, yeah, okay, so started around 850, and you can see how much was invested in there. This went all the way to about, you can see 1150. Actually started around 830, not 850. So apparently some of it's actually getting chopped off. So the first 50 maps was 3 hours and 50 minutes, or 3 hours and 20 minutes. Sorry, 3 hours and 20 minutes. And my game crashed 5 times. I was playing during peak hours. Apparently it was an internet issue. I definitely lost about 10 minutes there because of a few game crashes, and that does suck because I was trying my best to be as efficient as I could. The second time, you know, this was me going to sleep right here where there's no changes, and then I got up in the morning, started at 8:10, and I went until 11:20, I believe it was 11:20, and that was, or 11:15 maybe. It was 3 hours and 5 minutes. Again, that will be on part 2 of the Twitch video, which will be linked in the description down below. I'll link down part 1. You can go and find part 2 if you want. Part 3 will be this video right here, which is just covering me going over the results. So it's 3 hours and 20 minutes-ish with some issues with game crashes. Then it was 3 hours and 5 minutes, which I was pretty happy with that. And for me, this farm, especially if I drop out the... if I discount myself a little bit for all those crashes that happened, this was about 6 hours and 15 minutes for me to do all of these maps, and it is the big reason why I was able to make so much currency per hour. I suspect there are a lot of people who could do this exact same farm. The farm isn't difficult to do. It's not hard to invest this much in maps and clear this map and then do everything fine, but it is hard to do this in 6 hours, or 6 hours and 30 minutes for that matter. I suspect there are a lot of people who could do this in maybe 8 hours or 9 hours. But to do it in 6 hours and 15, well, I'm going to show you what we got here. So day 1 looks like this. The investment starts at 27.18x. I go from that to 77x. I net profited, not counting breach rings, I net profited 50x in the first 50 maps in 3 hours and 20 minutes. And then I wake up, it goes from 77x to 121x, which is... okay. Apparently in the last 10 minutes, prices have adjusted a lot. Okay, that's fine. I can take that into account. Down to 120x, plus the breach rings, plus an enlightened support, which is not being counted. The total profit here, something like 100.41 here. Let's do it right now. So we got 119.53 plus... oh, I almost forgot. I gotta show you the breach rings here. So breach rings, let's get that out of the way real quick. So we did not count the gems I leveled virtually, like 99.9% of the way up to level 5 here. Those are not being counted as part of the profit. The high stuff's not being counted as part of the profit. The Conqueror maps, Elder Influence maps, not being counted as part of the profit. The enhanced supports, I'm also not going to count as part of the profit. So that's a lot of little bit of extra currency that is not being counted. Kind of, in my mind, offsets the fact that not 100% of what's counted is totally liquidable at 100% of the value. Like some of those maps I'm probably not going to sell. but most of it will be. So for breach rings in here, I have 12 times 24 plus 10. This is how many breach rings I have. 198. We're going to take it times 2 for 2 chaos per breach ring, and we're going to take this divided by a hefty 165 because exalted orbs are high right now. They're the highest they probably will be, which actually means that when I calculate this in terms of exalts per hour, it's even more impressive because exalts are very high, and this target farm is specifically targeting high value currency, brother stash cards, exalted shards. You know, this really does focus on exalted orbs as one of the primary things I'm farming, which you'll get to see here in a second. But anyway, there's 3.61 X here in breach rings. We're going to also add 4.2 to cover this enlightened support, which you can see right here. It's 4.2. That's what it's currently selling at. And again, I type it into here, it doesn't even show up. So it's not even being included as part of this calculation, which is really unfortunate. So we go back in here. So we're going to take this number plus the 119.53. And we got basically a total gross profit of 127.3. Now the net, the investment was 27.18. So this puts me at just a smidge above 100x net profit in 100 maps in 6 hours and 15 minutes roughly. So we take this divided by 6.25, and this is the exalts per hour that I got essentially, right at 16. So 16 exalts per hour. That's really good. That's a little bit higher than what I usually see. I've been consistently earning at least 12, 13x an hour with this strategy for the past 300 maps. I've been doing mostly like 50 map sessions, not 100 map sessions, when I'm just kind of tinkering around testing myself. But 16 is pretty good. 16 is definitely a good showing, and I'm happy that, you know, I got that good showing, and I'm especially happy because I'm gonna share with you guys the floor. Part of this is the fact that I found 7 brothers stashes in 100 maps. That's a little bit lucky. I expected 6. I wouldn't have been surprised if I only found like 3 or 4. It would have been, you know, reasonable to expect. You might only find 3 or 4, but you know, 7 is perfectly reasonable. I found 13 last time, so that was a little bit unreasonable. But this is still a fairly reasonable showing for the brother stashes. Oh yeah, I guess I should show that here. Brother stashes, right there, 7. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this number here. We should go back actually. So we're gonna do 109.53 plus 3.61 plus 4.2. Okay, that again, that's our gross. We're gonna take this minus 27.18. Okay, that's our net profit right there. You know, pretty close anyway. That 1.6. And then, yeah, this number is going to be new because things have adjusted. Okay, so what am I removing? I'm removing anything that was worth more than 1 exalt. And again, you can go back through here and you can see, but there are only essentially 3 items that are worth more than 1 exalt. The Enlightened that doesn't show up here. So we'll take off 4.2. Okay. Also the Cortex, which is worth 2 exalts exactly. And then 7 brother stashes, so that's minus 35 exalts, okay? And that is the net profit of the kind of the floor. You know, if you were to get, you know, if you were to have outrageously bad luck and you actually got like no Cortex, no Enlightened, no Inspired or Learning, you got no Unnatural Instincts, you got no brother stash, you just got absolutely shafted. Like, unbelievably bad, which has never even happened to me. I don't got shafted that bad before running these juiced up maps like this. But if you find about 50, you're still going to get tons of scarabs. You're going to get some exalted orbs running beyond. You're still going to get a lot of stuff. 59x basically is what I got. You know, and if you did run it as fast as me, you would have still earned 9.5x per hour as a floor. As a floor, 9.5x per hour, which is unreasonable to suggest that you might only earn 9.5x per hour, because, you know, to do 100 maps with this juice and not get a single brother stash, well, it's actually unheard of for me. You know, it technically could happen. I believe in all my time finding roughly 100 brother stashes, I think the driest spell I've ever had, juicing the map anyway, it was about 50 or 60, maybe 70 maps in a row that I didn't find a single brother stash. That's the driest spell I've ever seen. So I wouldn't expect, you know, you guys to see anything else unlike that. Now, some of you, I think, have gone 100 maps without brother stash. To that, I would ask you, do you have all of these nodes here? Do you have the quantity wheel? Do you have the effect increase modifier wheel? Do you have the pack size wheel here? Do you have this little bit here inside? Are you running breach with flash breach? Are you running all the strongbox harbinger? Are you running beyond? Are you running 8 modded corrupted maps every single time? Okay, so I'm basically taking every single variable and putting it in my favor to give myself a very high chance of getting brother stashes on a regular basis. So I would expect to find some. I don't buy into the argument that, you know, one absolutely has to do the calculation without brother stashes. It's literally the primary farm of this. I found 7 is 35 exalts. I found a total of 100 exalts. You do the math. That's a third of my entire profit in 100% liquidable profit. It's actual exalted orbs. So that is the primary target farm. Of course, it must be included in, you know, the real estimated results. So, you know, this is going to look, I don't know exactly how I'm going to title it, maybe something like 10 to 16x an hour, you know, something like that. But certainly the range is something like that. You know, you're definitely going to get at least 10x an hour. You're going to get up to maybe 16x an hour, with a major caveat that you're juicing the maps up the way I am, that you spec the way I am, and that you have a character who's not necessarily really geared, but a character like mine that is capable of killing things in a similar way as mine, like with caustic arrow, and that you're exceptionally fast, and that you're actually serious about the way you farm. You know, this isn't, you know, lazy dad mode. This is, you know, my mind is focused when I'm playing. You know, if I was a no life streamer and I was playing the game 10 to 12 hours a day, I would have headaches all the time, and I wouldn't be focused very much, and I wouldn't really play all that seriously when I am. I'd be laid back and kind of casual about it, not counting league start exactly. But because you know, I have a job, I come home, I got like 2 or 3 hours to spare. I want to slam out a 3-hour session, and I want to be really efficient when I do it, and it's fun, you know, because I'm very mentally focused. I wasn't on a computer all day. I come home, I get on the computer for the first time today, and I'm ready to go, ready to go. And so that's the kind of position I am. I suspect there are a lot of you guys out there who are kind of in a similar case. So, you know, I really do want to drive that point home. I credit the success of this kind of currency farming strategy. I credit most of it to the speed of it. I don't think it's some sort of magical bullet with the spec. You know, there is something, you know, it did take me a while to come up to this spec in the end, to ultimately arrive at that. But I don't think that's like the magic bullet, like it's the perfect spec or what. No, I think it has a lot more to do with the speed, and you were able to see that in the showcase portion of the video. So honestly, I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways. And you know what? If you don't want to farm that way, hey, that's cool. That's fine. I mean, you can, if you went, you know, 70 or 80% of the speed I did. Let's say you found 100x in 100 maps like I did, and it took you 8 hours. Okay, that's still 12.5x per hour. Even if it took you 30% longer to do it than I did. It's still 12x an hour strat, which is really, really good. So that's all I got for this video, guys. This is not really anything else to say. This is the big one for the season. I'm going to do some testing around in Promenade. I'm going to put cemetery, my rearview mirror for now. I've been doing it enough. I enjoy it. I still like doing it, but I do want to test out some promenade. I know that's the big cheese right now. Somebody came up with a pretty good idea with Spider Forest. Perhaps if I took this exact same strategy and applied it to the Doctor card on Spider Forest, it might not be a bad idea, because Spider Forest is a little bit annoying, but at least it's like one floor and pretty wide open for the most part. But we'll see. You know, I'll get into some additional videos, and of course, I will be progressing towards that tornado shot omniscience bower. I already got the mage blood. I already got it right here since I found it straight up. So, you know, I got one of the biggest parts out of the way. And you can see I got a lot of promenade maps here to sell because I'm always in D&D mode. But hey, if you guys have any questions, just ask down below. Sorry this video got a little bit longer than I wanted, but it's important for me, I think, to dish out as much detail as I can, because, you know, if you're someone who is going to boast 16x an hour, even on the high end, you should probably be thorough about it, right? I bet you guys can agree with that. So anyway, until next time, stay tuned. There will be more coming. Bye for now.